There can be only one podcast, and may it be the Prince of the Universe. Hi, folks. I'm Matt.
And I'm Wes.
Oh, is that your not Christopher Nolan Batman?
No, that's more my Michael Keaton.
Your Michael Keaton talk like that?
I thought so. In my dreams, he does.
A couple weeks ago, we talked about the Batman. Bruce and I did, I think. I like it even less now after thinking about it. Even some of the kinder things I say just doesn't redeem it, I feel. Even though there are some things I think are solid. So you wanted to come in and defend the Batman, correct?
I wanted to defend Robert Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson. Now,
especially.
Historically, every Batman gets heat prior to the movie coming out.
Yes.
Everyone was so upset about Michael Keaton. I remember I did not care that it was Michael Keaton. That was fine by me. I was just happy to see a Batman movie.
Right.
Well, how did you feel about Michael Keaton being the Batman?
I thought the same thing. I was such a young kid. I was just...
Yeah.
Our only exposure to live-action Batman was Adam West.
Yeah, and this one had a black costume and everything. I just thought it was just so cool.
Right.
I thought it was so cool, so I didn't have a problem with that. Trying to go through the Batmans in my head. Oh, Val Kilmer was the next one. Didn't bother me at all because I was a huge Val Kilmer fan.
I liked Val as an actor in a lot of things, but I thought his Batman was a miss because I thought that script was pretty poor.
The script's pretty poor, but the way he plays, and to me it's the way you play Bruce Wayne. Not really, I mean, Batman's the tough guy, right?
Right.
And Bruce Wayne's got to be the exact opposite. People can't know that they're the one and the same. Michael Keaton did a great job with that. You know, I thought Val Kilmer did too. Then there was George Clooney, who did not like. I didn't like when he was coming. He was the ER heartthrob. Wasn't that his show back in the day?
It was, yes, it was.
Yeah, so he was the ER heartthrob back then, and I did not like that at all, even before I saw the movie. In fact, I refused to see the movie because I hated him so much, and someone paid for my ticket because he wanted me to see it with him. And
You have such strong opinions.
Well, yeah, I was not going to go see Batman and Robin, even though it was the sequel to Batman Forever, but I was like, no, I can't. George Clooney's going to be awful in that. So I did have a problem with George Clooney, I remember, before seeing it. Did you?
I had no problem with George Clooney. I just thought that it was completely off the
everything's
rails.
wrong. It's not just George.
I think that they had just...
I agree with that. They tried to turn Mr. Freeze into a regular Arnold movie, giving him those one-liners, and I was like, oh, okay.
It was, yeah. I think
everything was a one-liner from him.
I think that's probably universally the worst Batman movie by far.
Probably. Uma Thurman, though, was a good cast.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Especially at that day and age, but unfortunately, given the script she was given, nothing she could do about that. The next Batman was Christopher Nolan.
Correct.
Batman, is that right? And
that's
that was,
correct.
I can't think of his name right now.
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale. Hated Christian Bale. Hated the whole... I mean, not all of them. The first two I thought were really good. I thought the third one was just a total disaster. The third movie was. But his Batman was terrible.
You are very critical of these Batman.
No, not the first two. But his Batman was terrible. And his Bruce Wayne was even worse. I just felt that way. But I liked the first two movies. I thought the first two movies were solid. Just didn't like Batman, which is kind of a problem.
Odd.
Right?
Yes.
Did you like the third Batman?
I liked it. I didn't.
Really?
I don't think it was. I think the thing that hurt it more than anything was how incredible part two was with
Heath
Ledger.
And everything, and how do you trump that?
Yeah.
Right.
What I think about in that movie was a friend of mine I was watching it with, like halfway. It was like when he blew up the hospital. He looked at me and he said, I think Batman needs to call the Justice League. Like, it was just like to the point where you were going,
this is a big problem.
Yeah, Batman is really overmatched.
Now, if Joker is the arch nemesis, why didn't they say that for the third movie? The finale.
Well, I think he wanted to go with the story that he had.
He had Joker in the middle, part two, even though Joker's the arch rival.
Yeah, but
That's interesting choice.
Well, I thought that he used two really good Batman storylines and intertwined them in the last movie.
And maybe he thought Bane was going to be even greater.
I
don't know, but I'm just.
Well, I thought. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like that Bane storyline, Nightfall, is an incredible.
Well, that's great, but the third movie wasn't as much. But anyway, so Robert Pattinson, at this point, I didn't care. I don't hate him. He'll forever be known as Twilight, I think. You just can't shrug that off.
Well, I think it's like Mark Hamill will always be Luke Skywalker.
That's true. But that didn't mean I was deterred by him being Batman. I really didn't mind. Like, when Christian Bale became Batman, I was excited because I loved him in Terminator Salvation, a movie no one liked but me, I guess.
Yeah, I saw that in the theater. I
thought it was good because they didn't do time travel. They just showed us the war, which is what I wanted to see. But so I liked him, and I thought he'll be good, and he wasn't. And I didn't mind Patterson. I wasn't one of the people complaining about glittering Batman or whatever the jokes were. I'm sure there were plenty of jokes, and you probably heard more of them online than anyone else. I didn't have that. I just
Why? Because of my search history? Why would I know all these glistening?
That's why you're here, right?
I thought maybe you had tapped into my Google account and glistening Batman.
Sparkling Batman.
Yikes.
But no, you're here to defend him, which is why I know you've probably seen a lot out there about criticizing him. I was not one of those people. It didn't bother me at all because I said, well, let's wait and see let's see what happens. So looking at all the Batman, the only one I had the problem with was George Clooney, right before even watching the movie.
Right.
No one else I've had a problem with before seeing their movie.
Right. You were just let down by the...
I don't think Robert Pattinson did a good job.
Okay.
But, I mean, oh well. I mean, but the thing is, though, I didn't go in there saying, I don't want to watch Robert Pattinson Batman.
Correct.
And the only time I've ever said that is George Clooney.
Well, I guess my question, what is it about what he did let you down the most?
Sure. Emo Batman, sad all the time. Bruce Wayne, emo Bruce Wayne, sad all the time, miserable, lonely. And
okay, pause.
Go ahead.
Why is that not realistic?
Well, I mean, it's supposed to be an alter ego, and if no one cannot, I mean, I don't remember if it was no. This was in the comic books. Riddler thought he knew. Well, Riddler had a few. Have you read Hush?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Riddler figures it out.
Right.
Who is the Batman? It didn't take him long tying up who has great finances.
Right.
Who can do this? Who lives a life so far away, so far apart from Batman.
Right.
We wouldn't suspect it.
Right.
And he dug a little and found the answer. It was brilliant. I love Hush. I think Hush is great. But when you're already Batman just without the armor, that's who Bruce Wayne felt to me. The characters felt one and the same. And I just don't like that. I think an alter ego should be different. That's why I like Christopher Reeve's Superman.
I think it's funny you reference Christopher Reeves because that was, we're referencing another characterization that we enjoyed so long ago, and it's been hard for people to recapture that level of Superman for a lot of people.
I don't think there's been a better Clark Kent.
Right. Well, here's my take on the Robert situation.
Go ahead.
I think it's with the climate change, lack of a better term, and you have to have a fresh approach on rebooting characters. Something has got to change. And I really enjoyed how just frustrated he was. He was, the character, if you look at this and we look at anybody that's experienced loss, it damages you. So instead of like truth, justice, the American way, I like that just the only difference was he put the mask on. He did not want to deal with society. He stayed inside all day. Mm. He was pale white, almost like a vampire.
Yeah.
I liked that loss feeling of him and very angry because when you go through something until you get like treatment, for lack of a better term, you kind of get stuck at that age. So if he's just an angry, overgrown boy. And I thought that was more of a realistic take, taking an old story and dropping it into modern times.
But that's how he's dealing with that trauma, is being Batman, not being Bruce Wayne. Being Batman is how he deals with the trauma.
And that's why he was Batman most of the movie.
Well, yeah.
I could tell you.
Not all of it.
Yeah, but I thought
it's a personal preference at this part, at this point, obviously, because I just didn't like his Bruce Wayne.
No,
and that's what you judge. I mean, anyone. Yeah, most people can play Batman. Batman has no emotion. I like the Batman costume. I already said that. It reminded me of the Arkham Asylum games.
Yeah, very much so.
I thought it was great. I thought there were some good scenes in there, too. But it really, in my opinion, the acting chops comes from playing Bruce Wayne. How are you going to portray him? So it just doesn't seem like he did a very good job, to me.
Right. Well, I think if we're pretty locked in and
yeah,
for what we grew up on and have that real like ownership feel because it's our childhood. So we're growing into all of this. I think that the approach, it was more realistic than this guy who can work an 8-to-5 job and he's out fighting crime until 6 a.m. I think this is a more realistic approach. A guy that's going to sleep till 4 o'clock in the afternoon because he's wore out from doing this all day. And he's kind of angry and he's cranky and he's...
I mean, okay.
You know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fine. But I just don't agree.
Right.
But besides... So what... are they just talking about Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne, or are they talking about him as Batman they didn't like?
Well, I think that a lot of people just kind of... I think that the expectation for Batman is so difficult to maximize, and I really think every time
iconic role
it came out after it had been delayed so many times, and then Spider-Man comes out a couple months before this,
blows comic book movies out of the water.
Right. So it's like, here comes DC trotting out their number one franchise after Marvel has just
reset the bar.
Right. They have
raised the bar.
Right.
Actually,
exactly. Yeah.
Raised the bar.
Where people walk out and go, oh, well, that might be my favorite Marvel movie.
Yeah. Not even, we talked about this previously.
Right.
It's almost like now Marvel has to live up to the Spider-Man movie, and they won't.
Yeah.
For a very long time.
And I just think it's more of a reflection on DC, and in life, everything is about timing. And I think if that movie would have came out a year before this, I think it would not have
garnered so much ire from fans.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's fair. Besides Robert Pattinson, was there anything else you disliked about the movie?
Well, we've kind of talked about this in a few other podcasts. I think that sometimes creative vision does not want to be pulled in and reined in, and I think that hurts a lot of these movies where they want to pack so much in there, but then there's like you can't have any dead time, and if you add dead time to let the story build, you're like, ooh, this is taking too long.
3 hours.
So yeah, I think
went to the bathroom 3 times during the film. Didn't feel like I missed a thing. I was like, what happened? And they said, oh, they just talked for a little while. Oh, okay, good.
Well, I think that's what hurt it. I think that the first 2/3 were well paced.
That's exactly right. And the last third drug on, and then there were so many pointless scenes. Like, I don't know why we need 2 minutes of them just he and Catwoman riding bikes around Gotham City.
Well, I argue that because
okay,
I thought
go ahead,
I thought
this
that
is when I should have gone to the bathroom.
Well, I think that the Catwoman Batman dynamic of the romantic side of it, which is my big thing for Batman, Returns, which is my favorite, which is its 30th anniversary.
It's great.
In June. Film. So I think that was beautifully shot, but I think what hurt it was the 40 minutes that led up to that shot.
Oh my gosh, I don't know. Showing that the streets of Gotham were not flooded anymore. I don't know. That doesn't make sense.
No, it's shooting them going 2 separate ways, but they're on the same path.
Yeah, but they drove together for quite some time. It was like watching the opening credits of Chips or something. They're just driving. Next
I don't know if I would have went with
like
Chips.
They're the best of friends.
It's like this slow breakup where you don't want it to end.
I get it. They go separate ways and everything. Oh, boo-hoo. I don't care about her. I hated her, actually. I couldn't stand her. In the film. I think the Catwomen just get worse and worse over time. And I mean that. I think Julie Newmar is the best Catwoman from the old Batman.
You are such a cranky grandpa these days.
I am. I will gladly admit it when it comes to Catwoman. And then it's just been a step down. I
This
like Michelle
peeing
Pfeiffer.
every extra hour is really throwing you off.
Is she better than Michelle Pfeiffer?
She was for the story, she was as good as she could be. I think it was excellent.
So you think she's on par with Michelle Pfeiffer?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But to me, I just love the story.
Here's the reason why I don't really Christopher Nolan I hate because he tried to bring comic books into the quote unquote real world. Okay, he tried to everyone look more realistic. It's a comic book movie. I think someone that did this great, and we talked about this during Batman Returns. Tim Burton captured the look and feel of Gotham and the comic bookiness of it, if that's a word. But the thing is, though, it felt like it made sense in this world to have Penguin rise up from an old rubber ducky.
Right.
I don't mind penguins with their missiles strapped on them. Oh, it's silly. That's from the comic book. I get that. No,
right.
The whole time watching it, and still today watching it, I never roll my eyes.
Right.
Because I like the look and feel of both those Tim Burton Batmans.
Right.
And then Joel Schumacher kind of made it brighter and happier and kookier, and I wasn't a big fan of that. But the Tim Burton ones were, in my mind, perfect. But we're never going to see the comic book feel of a movie because you have to bring these characters now into a quote-unquote real world.
Well, yeah, and I think part of the reason why they do that, I'll say that with Batman, is because Batman is probably the closest of any mainstream character that you could say, could this possibly exist? Could this kind of guy exist?
No,
and I think that that's part of it. And I think that so many creative people have been a part of Batman's lineage over the past 40 plus years. I mean, you got to think, like, from the mid 80s, so many creative people have dabbled and did major things with that. I think that is part of why it's easier to reboot Batman than it is other characters, because so many people have had their little runs with it rather than it just being this one gigantic run by one person.
Exactly. I just realized I failed to mention Ben Affleck, who, again, people had tons of problems with before and after the movie came out. Myself, no problems going on before he came in, and he's the only good thing about those movies.
I don't have any problems with it.
I thought he played Batman and Bruce Wayne incredibly. I'm in the very small minority on that, but I did not like any of those movies, but I thought he was solid.
I agree with that.
I thought he was solid.
But they weren't ever Batman movies, so
true. It was a Batman.
You couldn't really dig into.
But playing the role of Batman is kind of what we were talking about.
Yeah.
How everyone gets criticized, whoever takes up the mantle next,
right?
Movie wise, and so Ben Affleck was one I failed to mention. I didn't have a problem with him either. In fact, I liked him. He'd be in my. I'm gonna think about this before I say it. Top 3, top 4 Batman. I mean, he'd be up there.
Yeah,
he'd be up there. Because he was really good. He did a good job. So I failed to mention him. The other thing is, where would you rank this Batman movie compared to all the other movies that have come before it? We will skip the Justice League and Batman Superman.
Right.
Since you're correct in that's not being a complete Batman movie.
It's tough to say because you can easily shuffle some of this. It's not.
You're moving it to the bottom in your head. I know what you're doing.
It's just not the top. So it's always
never at the top. It's
near
easy
the bottom for me to say the top. It's harder for me to. The number one to me is Batman Returns. Like I said, that to me was like because it's just such an artistic thing about it.
There's so many Batman movies. Like this is in the bottom for me. With the Batman, whatever, was it Dark Knight Rises? Was that the third one?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dark Knight Rises and the Batman and Robin.
Right.
And Batman and Robin, obviously being one of the worst, but it was funny because I had this conversation because my brother asked how the podcasts are going and what our next topic was. I actually told him this was our topic. And he goes, that's interesting. He said, because I was thinking about it, because he saw it And he said there was, in his opinion, a lot of missed opportunities. He thought things just could have been better done. And he mentioned this, that there was no iconic shot. It's the first time he's ever seen not an icon. Like there's not this Batman iconic moment. Like there is in every
Like
Batman.
the silhouette.
It's not a cinematic movie.
Well, I argue that.
Okay, all right. But he said he didn't see one in there. And he just...
I think the Batmobile coming out of the fire.
Okay. Just a car.
And I think him walking up and the Penguin being upside down and shooting him walking that way to the car was extremely iconic.
Okay. All right.
I say this is top number 3 for me.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. Because we were talking about this subject. I said, well, let me ask you this. What would you rather watch? Would you rather watch the Batman again or Batman and Robin? And we both said Batman and Robin. Now, that doesn't mean that it's better than that movie. It just means that, first off, I will never give 3 hours again to watch that. It's just not worth watching a movie for 3 hours.
Right.
If they have a TV edit version that's like an hour and a half, I'm in. Because you could definitely cut it down.
The NBC Sunday night movie?
Something like that.
Okay.
But you know what I'm saying? It's just that I sat there watching the movie going, they could have cut this. They could have cut this. They could have shortened this. Because I was, and I mean, that's in my head because I was pissed I had to stay there for 3 hours in a movie theater.
Well, I think that we have had so much material now. We're very fortunate. We have seen so much that we can be so much more critical of it because it's so plentiful.
Yeah.
So I think that, and I do agree that someone should have edited that last third of the movie down drastically.
Yeah, but these days, it's Batman. You want to give the fans everything. DC has no idea what they're doing. We should just start with that.
Well, I think that they're starting to know since they're chopping everybody's heads off. Anyway, I say Batman Returns number 1.
Okay. This is good. I want to hear this.
The Dark Knight number 2. And Batman number 3.
Wow. Michael Keaton's Batman misses out on that. See, you don't like to dance with the devil in a pale moonlight?
I would rather dance with Robert Pattinson.
Okay. So, I don't know, because I don't keep up with it, but are they doing a sequel to this? Did it make money?
I think it made money. I just think that I think that the expectation of it based off of Spider-Man was so high. But once again, this was not a kid movie.
No, I agree with that.
I
think it's boring for kids.
It's too much.
Yeah, well, there's too much. I mean, for an adult, there's not too much. It wasn't boring to me. I actually enjoyed I love the Penguin. But there's no way a kid is going to just sit there and just enjoy all that. They're like, Mommy, hit the fast forward button.
It's not bright enough. I mean, it was shot in such a way. I think that was one of the most enjoyable parts of it was how it was shot. I thought it was a beautifully made movie.
What did you think of Colin Farrell playing Penguin?
Excellent.
I thought so too. That was the highlight. Is it the only highlight in the film? Hold on.
You cannot tell me you did not think that Batmobile was incredible.
I do not like the Batmobile. Well, I don't like the Batmobile that just looks like an armored tank car.
That didn't look like an armored tank car. It looked like a dragster at a dirt track.
Yeah.
What state are you from?
I'm just saying, to me, and this is the thing, they want to give him the Batman costume, but they don't want to give him anything else Bat-related because it would look silly. But he's in a Batman costume. See, Christopher Nolan started this by giving him that, like, Land Rover, and I was like, that's stupid. No kid thinks that's cool. I just don't think a kid would see that's cool. You know what was cool to me? The old Super Friends Batmobile, the blue one with the black on it.
Well, in today's environment, maybe that
I understand
sedan.
That. And I mean, I'm looking at it from a younger kid point of view. But actually, it's fake.
You can't take parts of all of these different movies and drop them in because you have this land of misfit toys with all these different visions.
I understand. It's not a buffet, and the movies aren't made to appease me, just me. It's to appease the masses. I get that.
Right. I think for what it was made to be, I thought it checked all the boxes. The biggest complaint was too long.
What about Catwoman stealing Huntress's story? I just don't understand why Huntress couldn't be a character, because she's the daughter of Falcone.
Well, I think there's a lot of that borrowing
I mean, they did borrow.
Did
from
you-
the, they
yeah,
bor-
and
in
I
fact,
think a
the
lot-
whole time they were talking about this, it's like, oh, this is the Huntress story. But
Right, and I
without the
think,
Huntress.
like I said, I think that part of it is why make the story so big? That's, why,
Well-
and that's a valid complaint. It's just too broad.
And I'm not complaining that Falcone was the main villain. They made a gangster the main villain.
I thought it was great.
That's fine. That doesn't bother me. Not to go with some super villain is. I mean, well, he also shared time with the Riddler, who the Riddler's my favorite villain of Batman.
We've talked about that.
And I said this in me and Bruce's review of it. I guessed all but maybe one or two of the riddles. I got them right before Batman could, and riddles you can come up with something a lot more harder. I thought something was ingenious. I like the thumb drive thing. That was great.
Very
I
clever.
love that one. There's another one that I thought was really good. But every time they gave a riddle, I knew that one. I was like, surely the writers aren't that dumb, or Batman isn't that dumb. But no, I like that the tool that he killed the guy with happened to be
The carpeting.
carpeting thing. That was great.
Yeah.
Those were great clues and everything, but everything else, you're like, yeah, I know this. I know this riddle. This is an easy riddle. And I don't know. I like I said, I want the Riddler to be done right. I don't want him looking like, Mankind's brother or something. Without the mask, he's great. I thought without the mask, he looked like an Edward Nygma, I wish they would have given him a suit with a big, with a sloppy painted,
Well, I thought, you were
question
talking
mark
about
on
how
it, 'cause
you
he is
wanted
kinda
alter
crazy.
egos to be two different things. That to me, he was so timid and
Well, no, he was
And
timid.
he was
you're
so
right,
powerful
But the
and-
villain doesn't need an alter ego.
well, I'm not.
I mean, Joker doesn't have an alter ego. No, Penguin didn't have an alter ego. They don't have to. The villain doesn't have. The villain is who they are.
Right.
They don't. I mean, Joker said this in the comic book before. I don't hide behind a mask. You do. I am who I am. You hide.
Right, but the Riddler in this did. So I'm
No,
just
I know.
saying.
I know. But I liked him without the mask. I thought he was good before that. I mean, but with that, but not with the mask on. They kind of made him look like a mad bomber. As a kid, you kind of be confused if that wasn't the Riddler. If you didn't know the Riddler, you'd be like, I don't know who this is. I don't think that he was very defining as a character. And again, we're trying to get into the realism of Batman now. We got to forget the comic book version of him.
Right.
We got to go with anything came from the comic book. Besides the bat suit, that's the only thing we can have that's considered campy, with quotation marks around it. Everything else has to be in the real world, set in the real world. I don't really like that.
Well, I think the biggest complaint. I'm listening to everything you're saying, and I'm not doing a psychological profile, but I think we just had too many characters was the biggest thing, and it was too full.
Well, yeah, in 3 hours you can fit.
You
a
could have
cast
cut.
of 20
You really
characters.
could have cut the Riddler out of this
That's true. Yeah, Riddler was side
and
story.
have Batman just pursuing this in a different way, and
yeah,
just really built up Falcone.
yeah, the whole mystery surrounding Falcone, and I mean they resolved.
And then maybe you could have dropped
He was
Huntress
the
in
one-
there that way, and then
he was the one responsible for Wayne's parents' death. Do you have to do that?
it was a lot to depend on one person.
Down like so early, and you know what I'm saying? It seems
Right.
like third act kind of thing. And if you're wanting to have a big baddie, you don't want it to be Falcone. Nothing against him; he's a great character, and he was a great character in the movie too.
Yeah, solid.
But the thing is, though, missed opportunities. I chalk that up to just being another DC movie. Which is not good when I say that.
Well, no one knows how to hit edit.
So this is the best DC movie in your opinion too. Then, obviously, if it's number 3 on the Batman chart, there must not be anything that beats it on the DC chart. DC has not been slugging home runs.
No, yeah, I thought it was to me, it was the Batman I wanted to see in
Is it
my
the,
40s.
Is it the number 1 DC movie that they've had out?
Well, I mean,
Oh well, no, never mind. You already said there's 2 other Batman.
Yeah.
Let's get rid of those 2 other Batman. Are there any other non-Batman movies that beat the Batman? I'm just trying to get a how high the Batman is.
yeah,
Like, is there anything else you'd put above the Batman?
I would rather watch that again than watch anything else, other
Okay.
than maybe
All right, no, that's fine.
maybe Wonder Woman.
Okay.
But
The
that's
first
for
one.
that's for another reason.
Okay.
It's not a cinematic experience.
Gal Gadot.
Mm.
Did you like the second movie?
I did not.
No.
But I did think
What
Kristen
garbage.
Wiig had some incredible jackets.
I'm telling you. She did.
Whoever did her outfitting was
They
pretty
had fun.
Yeah.
They had fun.
I don't know if
agree
they
with
make
that.
those in men's sizes, but I would be interested in finding them.
All right. So that's it. So Wes is going to tell you to go ahead, give Robert Pattinson a shot if you haven't already. So
Yeah, I like Bruce Wayne as the Batman and Batman as Bruce Wayne. I like the one character dynamic where he's a normal. I think for a lot of people that go to work and have to get through the day, this was their Batman.
there you go. If you agree or disagree with Wes, let us know in the comments below. And we'll see you next time on Princes of the Universe.